The whole group anticipatory set was not differentiated. Um, all the students were asked the same types of questions. It was just basically to kind of get to know what they already knew about objects in pictures that don't belong. However, after the anticipatory set, during the independent portion of the math assignment, there were 4 students who are already above grade level and I knew would get really bored with the worksheet that I was going to give them. So I gave them a different worksheet where there was no color on it. It was just black and white. So they couldn't, and it didn't have a background. Like the one that I showed in the video was elephants in a with a background of mountains and ice. It didn't have any of that in it. It was just a picture of a door, and it said this is a closet with shelves, and it wanted them to pick out the objects at the bottom that did not belong and put an X through them, and then cut out the ones that did belong and glue them up onto the shelves of the closet. None of it had color or anything, so it was a little bit more challenging. They had to actually read the sentences and know what the pictures were, rather than looking at everything, like the background and all that, to kind of see what did and didn't go. There were no major challenges that arose during the lesson. After the students turned in their papers, I graded them. One of the students didn't meet the mastery level of 80%, so I pulled her aside during small group centers time, where they, or not small group, just free centers, where they, at the end of the day, they get to pick a game they want to play, and they just play with freely with their friends. So I pulled her aside, and I had her complete I completed a mini lesson with her, much like the one that I completed before, only this time I used a picture that had different objects in it. And she had to tell me which objects did not belong in that picture. Like, it was a picture of the ocean, and she had to tell me there was a whale and a dog and a pair of shoes and a boat and all that in there, and she had to tell me which ones didn't belong. So we just completed like a little 10-15 minute mini lesson, and then I gave her a reteach worksheet that was in the workbook, and it was basically the same thing. She just had to complete with using different pictures. In the future, I would adapt this lesson by using a smartboard game, where the students would have to move the objects that didn't belong out of the pictures and maybe place them in a picture that where they did belong, or even just using more pictures rather than the picnic basket, or rather than me making up stuff in my head. I could use pictures with different environments and objects in those environments and the setting, and then they had to point to it or circle the ones that did not belong or that did belong.